He's a filmmaker. West Ash, look it up. Do the app West Ash. And yeah, I'm just honored to be able to call him a friend. We've worked on some great projects with Sounds Pretty, and we're so excited that he's here. Colby.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Spoiler alert. That is not actually a Snickers commercial. That was, if I remember correctly, the first video I ever made, and I was 16. I look a little different, but I'm the not blonde guy running. My directorial debut. In the theme of the day, growth, it was a lot of growth for me to put that on screen. It's like, hey, so, fun to see how far you've come sometimes. Yeah, that was shot VHS, cut VHS. That's how old I am. So today's topic is growth, and I kind of have fun thinking about this a little bit. And it kind of helped me think about maybe even my career and like the one thing that's kind of helped me grow and evolve as an artist, as a business person over the years. And it kind of boiled down to one theme appropriate term, which was the name words.
Yeah. But the movie, Joe.
Dramatic pause.
Yeah.
The growth mindset. How many of you guys are familiar with the growth mindset as a term? Okay, I'll do a little education. Growth mindset was kind of created, I believe, by Carol Dweck, who's a psychologist. And the kind of theory boils down to this idea that intelligence and abilities are something that can be practiced and learned and grow over time. They're not fixed traits. So I'm just not a math person or the things, that kind of mindset. And so it kind of boils down into these two. Here, I'll just do this, and then we can talk. There's two types of the growth mindset. Oh, geez. No, we're just getting ahead of ourselves here. Boils down to two things: the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. The fixed mindset is kind of like if you are the way you are and keep able to change these sorts of things. And the other is the growth mindset, which basically says with practice and focus, you can get better at things over time. I heard this popularized by a guy named Trevor Reagan. One more back. We'll keep that back. Right. And one more forward.
So, one more.
Yes. I heard a guy named Trevor Reagan on a podcast recently reframed the growth mindset as the learner versus the knower, which I really like that a little bit better because he kind of implied an action you can take to get better at things. The growth mindset kind of says a growth mindset is good, and so you should have one. And you're like, cool, man. Like, what do I do with that information? The learner versus the knower kind of implies like you can lean into an ideology or a belief that I can learn to be better, versus the knower that kind of subconsciously avoids situations where they may not know everything, may not want to grow and get better. And so fixed mindset people tend to avoid scenarios where they may be pushed outside of their comfort zone. And so I like the reframing of the learner versus the knower. So that was also excellent timing on the email. Trevor Reagan also had this interesting equation of the learner versus the knower. Just caring plus uncertainty equals growth. I really like this because, again, it kind of implies a way you can grow. For me, I really wanted to make films and tell stories, make videos, and I was passionate about that. I cared about that. I had no clue what that meant or how that worked or how to do that, and so I was very uncertain of that path. But when you combine those two things, you're forced to grow and learn, and that's kind of how that works. That's also going to be a double whammy there.
That's nice.
I know everybody loves this term. It's might be one of those eye-rolling, inducing phrases. Just trust the process, Mio. You don't have to do anything, just trust the process. But when I leaned into this with understanding that you could just get better, it just took time. This was kind of the final puzzle piece that allowed me to kind of feel okay not being good at things and feeling comfortable that I would be better eventually. But no, let's go on. So with all that in mind, there's one thing that I think is interesting about this is that every single person in this room with the idea of growth in mind has one thing in common. You were really bad at something or were not good at something, and you are better at that thing today than you used to be. And so you've grown, you've gotten better at that because you focused on it. So let's take a step back to, literally, sorry, not the slide, to 2018. 2018. You are going forward. Imagine yourself. I'm floating on a lake in the Khao Lam Reservoir in Thailand. I'm in this hand-carved boat with this guy who's got a car engine mounted to a 10 or 15 foot long pole with a prop at the end of it. I'm staying in a floating hut. These guys were cooking all of our meals for us and taking us out fishing. And I'm making videos for work. And I'm cruising on this little boat, this little fleet, and I'm like, well, this is it. I've made it. This is what I do. I'm on the other side of the world, and I'm making videos. And I was stoked. I mean, I was like, this is what I've been training for. This is what we train for, right? And I continued to do that for another 5 years. Travel the country, travel the world, meeting interesting people, getting paid to go fishing. It's really not a bad deal. I also had this job in the pandemic, which was very fortunate for me. There was a moment where like, it's all going to shut down. Turns out sitting in the middle of a lake alone in a kayak during the pandemic is a hell of a way to spend your time when you're not allowed to be around people. So it was a very boom time for the industry. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to kind of do that through the pandemic. But eventually I hit a wall creatively. To that point, I'd never done anything longer than 2 or 3 years before I had to completely uproot and move. And so creatively, I was stagnant. I was kind of unfulfilled. I was a little aimless. I didn't really know what to do. So to understand how we get there, though, go back to 2009, to the roots. And it's about 7 years after. I'm actually liking this. No. I was liking it. I was acknowledging my joy. Oh, no, we have to do that. This is great. This is the stuff that doesn't come out when you rehearse. 2009, about 7 years after I graduated from film school. And so in that 7 years, I had worked for Nickelodeon on Slime Time Live. I moved it about this issue, doing lighting for Slime Time Live. I got to meet Britney Spears' little sister. So that was pretty sweet. I got to take videos of tourists with dolphins at Discovery Cove in Orlando, Florida. Possibly the thing I was most excited about in film school. And I also would go in at night to the Universal lot in Orlando and transfer digitized tapes for the Discovery Channel and Travel Channel. So that also dates me. I would digitize tapes. Also had hair. But I moved to Asheville in 2006. and I was working in a production job, and everything was going great. And in 2009, I was in the first of many funks that I was feeling, and I kind of did what I learned would be a recurring theme here. I kind of started acting like a dick, and I accidentally got myself fired from that job, which also a recurring theme we'll see here. So we kind of had to make some changes, and so if you're familiar, we took some jobs at the Villages, Florida. The how do I describe this? Disneyland for Fox News enthusiasts. My job here was internal video. I would make videos. I learned about pickleball way before anybody else knew what was going on with pickleball. It's an active adult community. It was great, actually, for a while. My wife and I were like one of 5 people under 30. I got really good at golf. I got really good at drinking. And so that was kind of a couple of years there. But there was a couple of things that I was also exposed to at the Villages that were sort of life-changing for me. One, my mentor, I was part of the sales office, and so I was exposed to a lot of like business stuff. And to that point, I never really thought of what I did as business. I kind of thought of it as just a service or video. It wasn't like tied directly to a business. And that same woman kind of encouraged me to like learn a little bit about myself and read books and just kind of gain knowledge. And to that point, nobody had really ever done that to me. I just sat in a either shot video or edited video. And so that was one thing, was I was kind of exposed to this idea of improving yourself. But I was also exposed to different ideologies. Spoiler alert, I am not a retired Fox News enthusiast. And so I would hang around a lot of these people that had very different viewpoints from me, and had to interact with them and learn from them. It was a skill I didn't realize would be helpful, that I would use later in making documentary films, having to relate to people and get comfortable with people. And so in the moment, I didn't realize it was a skill that I was learning, but it turned out to be very helpful. And so effectively, Florida taught me that I was learning to learn. God knows how many self-help books I read or was handed to. And, they're kind of goofy, but they were always a reminder to like look inward and check in and kind of like, am I improving? Am I learning? Am I doing something? So that this time frame, like 2009 to 2013, I like to fondly refer to as the learning years. This is, I'm in there too. Fred Savage is just a dream. Yeah. I had more fun making this graphic probably than any other part of this presentation. Anyway, so this time's like, coming off of the Villages, we decided to move out west. We moved to Portland for a couple of years. In Portland, I worked for a creative agency. That was another kind of aspect of things that I hadn't really had in my life. Kind of being on the creative side of things, learning about managing clients, all these things. It was very interesting. Portland was a good time. I also grew a mustache, wore jorts, bought a bike, rode a bike everywhere. It was a time to be alive. Look how happy.
You look happy.
There's also hair until that hangs. But these learning years were good for me because I learned to prioritize myself, my career, my health even. I started running. There was like a lot of things here where I was like breaking out of just business as usual. I was kind of always in this introspective mindset. So, my wife and I decided to come back while we were living in Portland for a wedding into Asheville. And we were kind of traveling home, and we're like, Asheville actually feels like home. Out west is fun, and I love it. We go there we try to go there every year for vacation if we can. And I really did enjoy living out there, but we kind of came to the realization that we didn't have roots there. It didn't feel, homey to us. So we decided to move back. And so we packed up everything, had to buy a car, had to sell a bike, had to shave off the mustache. And we packed everything up and we came by, moved back to Asheville. So, no mustache. I got my job back, the one that fired me, and things were good for a while. We even met what I would say some lifelong friends. We started a thing called CreativeMornings at the time to get dirty, and things were really humming along at that time. I was learning to meet people, to kind of build a network of creative folks in town. I was enjoying what was going on, but I was also a bit miserable again because in a big way, I felt like I had taken this giant step backwards. It was all these years later, but I was back at the same company I worked for in 2006, in the same town we had moved values from, doing the exact same work. And so I was kind of spinning my wheels a little bit like, man, what am I supposed to do here? Like, am I just destined to ping pong back and forth across the country for the rest of my life? And so I did what, I do, which is I went ahead and got fired again and started being a dick. And people didn't really like that. And so I lost that job for the second time. But things were a little bit different this time. I was cultured. I lived out west. I had a mustache. I got emails. So things were just a lot bit different this time. I have learned a lot more this time. So I was a little bit more prepared for unemployment than I was in the past. I had also, while at that job, started Westash in 2014. And so on the side, I was networking with people. I was doing side projects. CreativeMornings was happening. I was just kind of getting out there a lot more. And so getting fired that time was sort of this encouraging moment of like, well, just clearly you're unemployable at this point. So just go employ yourself and start your own business. So I dove in on Westash full time. And I gave it a shot for 2 years. And I was still horrible at business. I had not learned how to be a good business person. So every winter I would just get slow. And, I just hadn't learned how to kind of to run my own thing yet. And so in 2018, I took that job and started making fishing videos, which brings me back to floating on a lake in Thailand. I got that job and it was great. Fast forward to 2023, I was running Westash full-time with a full-time job. So I was lucky enough that my job was flexible enough that I could do that, but I never had time off. I think my wife and I would schedule a camping weekend a year for those couple of years. It was just exhausting. And it started making me question if I even liked video. Where I was like Googling degrees that I could get to just completely give it up and start anew. I was looking at jobs on the West Coast again. I was just trying to set the whole thing on fire again because that's what I had always done in the past. The hard part about that for me was that from the outside, everybody was like, dude, you've got a dream job. You travel around, you're outside, you get paid to make fishing videos. What could possibly be wrong? But what I realized is that I wasn't being challenged, which is now I realize I always need to kind of have a problem to solve, something to sort of challenge me to grow, basically. And that just wasn't happening with the job. So I decided to kind of cook up a little test and see, do I need to go back to school and be an accountant, or am I going to keep doing film? And so I reached out to some friends, my good buddies Jake and Luke from Creative Campfire, and we started working on a film that is artistically hidden there called Nature is Medicine, with a buddy of mine, Steven. And that was like the first passion project. It's like, I'm doing this 100% on my own. This is me. This is art. This isn't work. And it was great. And that kind of snowballed a little to the point where I reached out to Justin and we started working on Sounds Pretty, which was short films on artists in town and kind of getting into their spaces and being able to kind of learn how people interpreted creativity. And it was just this very fulfilling mission that I was on. He's like, oh, this is it. I'm like meeting cool people and doing cool projects and learning stuff that I want to learn. I'm completely fascinated by people who make things by hand. Like my whole life is digital. So, anybody can actually draw, make letterpress. It was such a cool way to spend my time. And it really answered that question for me. Like, am I over this or do I just need to focus more on this? And what I kind of learned was like, there's art and then there's work. And I had always tried to blend those. I'd taken that advice, like, do what you love and you'll never work another day in your life. Bullshit-ish. Because you can ruin the thing you love. I hear nowadays, monetize it. Turn your hobby into a YouTuber and it, whatever. It ruins it. So there has to be balance there. So with this newfound knowledge that I did indeed enjoy films, I set out on a mission. I'd heard a variation of this Bill Gates quote that said, we underestimate what we can accomplish in a year and overestimate what we can accomplish in a week, which is the story of my life. Like what I think I can do in a business day is obnoxious. So it's never accurate. So I gave myself 1 year to quit the job and go for the time in West Ash. And it did take a little bit longer than I thought, but I managed to fire myself from the job instead of making someone else do it for me. And I went full time with West Ash. So nowadays, I run around. I make fun videos with big cameras and a bunch of amazing people that are in the back row that I love dearly. And it worked out. I have this balance of work and business and that's sort of the culmination of all of these sort of experiences that I've had for the last 20-some years now. And so what I kind of learned was that growth is a compounding effect. There is no way to have known where I was going to be now 20 years ago, 10 years ago. Each little experience, probably even more so the negative ones, helps inform where my path was. I didn't know how it would end up. I just had to trust the process, as they say. And only those experiences and time would have taught me that. It kind of goes back to that equation of caring plus uncertainty was really the only way that you would kind of end up here. You couldn't know how you were going to get there. You just had to care enough to stick to it. I also learned that like collaboration is entirely the way this works. In my industry specifically, nobody really for any length of time can do this alone. And so it's built into the industry, but also my whole life has been, I can do it. I'll just do it. I'll just suck it up and do it. And it's been much more enjoyable now to be surrounded by people who are helping. So to wrap things up, I have no idea what I've been talking. So how can we grow? This is going to be a lot of pleading because I think the word's coming. So, surround yourself with the right people. Negative people suck in a lot of different ways, but they take a lot of your energy. And so, removing those people from your situation allows more room for the right people to come in Specifically people who challenge you and want you to succeed. In my life, people want me to succeed more than I do, quite frankly, and you have to lean on them from time to time.
You can.
Check in with yourself. Much like I did in 2023, was I actually over what I was doing, or did I just need to kind of reevaluate what I was doing and how to fix that situation? Without growth, we die. Our passions, our skills, our relationships, all these things will just fizzle out, and you really start questioning why you're doing what you're doing if you're not growing in some way. You don't really have to, move across the country to do that. But if you ain't growing, you're dying. I think that's the quote, right? Or if you ain't first or last, was it? Something like that. You don't have to pick up everything and move across the country for that change. You don't have to do slider multiple times. And you can just check in with yourself to see maybe what that might mean for you. Embracing change, embracing the process is, I could feel like key, at least for me, it has been. I always thought I had to know where I was going in every step of the way before I could take the first step. No, and getting rid of that mentality and embracing the process really helped with that. Thank you. I have one more thing to say, which I was making. Embracing change is really just boils down to like being comfortable with being uncomfortable. I hated that term, and I hated that idea of not having full control of everything all the time. When I let that go, I actually now enjoy being uncomfortable. Like everything great that happens is on the other side of your comfort zone. So the more you can butt up against that, the better. And thank you.
Colby Sexton did a lot.